I'm going to bring the meeting to order. I'm Don Berube, 135 River Road.
Daniel, Select Board Rep.
Carrie Mackinnon, Community Development Director.
Ben Davis, 9 Wheeler Road.
Michael Lawton, 3 Asa Drive.
Sandy Crystal, 1 Shoreview Drive.
And Ben, you'll be voting.
Iverson, recording
right?
secretary.
So we got 5, and we're going to get right to it with public hearings. Application number 203-25, Amber Bow Associates LLC, continued from 5/15/25. Modification of site plan 203-22 related to proposed Route 3A Dow Road intersection improvements located at 75 Dow Road.
Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board. Good evening. My name's Ari Pollack. I'm an attorney with the Gallagher, Callahan, and Gartrell firm right in Concord. And to my left is Peter Levine, the project proponent and owner of the property off Dow Road. We're here tonight to discuss an amendment to an approval that the board issued in 2022, where one of the conditions was essentially a reference to a memo from the Bernier firm talking generally about phasing of traffic improvements and talking to DOT about a driveway permit for the intersection of Dow Road, a town road, and Route 3A, a state road. Since that condition was made part of the approval, we've had conversation with the DOT, the staff has been with us in these conversations, and we presented the plan that was referenced in the original site plan approval, and DOT said, we don't like it. So that caused the question of, what do you like? And we had a series of meetings where we landed on a different concept that accomplishes some of the goals that DOT had asked us to address, but does not cost $4 million. So we considered that to be a happy compromise, and essentially, to keep it short, we're in front of you asking for you to consider amending that original condition of approval to reference the new plan so that we again can approach DOT, make our informal discussion a formal submission for a driveway permit, and if that is then approved, construct those improvements to support what's going on the property. The DOT plan does not change any of what you have approved on the site. This is all off-site at the nearby intersection. It's not even at the driveway, it's at the intersection. So it's all about DOT, which is just the way they like it.
That hasn't been a whole lot of fun to work with.
Well, I've had more fun doing other things, but we're getting there. So what we've got now is a plan that is not by Bernier, but is instead by VAI, and it is dated May 13 of 2025. This is the concept plan that DOT has said, yes, that's much better. Go ahead and make a formal application. And so what we're looking for you to do is amend condition 8 of your 2022 approval that currently says comply with phase 1 and 2 conditions as described on page 2 of the memo dated August 15, 2022, written by Tim Bernier, file number 559-01. I will tell you I've read that memo 4 times. I'm not really sure what I'm supposed to do. We would like to replace that language with applicant shall work with town staff to prepare and submit a formal driveway permit application to DOT, advancing traffic mitigation plans substantially similar to those prepared by VAI dated May 13, 2025. Upon approval of said driveway permit by DOT, applicant shall be eligible to obtain occupancy permits for the improvements in all phases of development associated with this site plan. And again, that's the 2022 site plan. That's it.
All right.
Okay.
Good questions from the board?
Can we accept it as complete? I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
A second?
All those in favor? Aye. Opposed? Get the application. Any questions from the board? Woody?
I'm just trying to make clear I know what's being asked. So you're asking for approval to approach DOT with driveway permit. And when will you occupy that, I understand you wanna keep building, when will you occupy? Because obviously there's funding issues around the intersection.
Right.
that We need to make sure the intersection is actually improved before we give approval, in my view, for occupancy of phase 2 and 3. Is it 4 more buildings?
Right, so there's 3 phases.
Yeah.
Phase 1 was the original buildings that were existing.
Yeah.
Phase 2 is 3 and 4, where Peter's already arranged for tenants. They're waiting for this to shake out so they can get going. Phase 3 is buildings 5 and 6 that are down the road and no immediate plan.
Okay.
What we would like to see happen, and I understand that there needs to be some phasing element to this. We're going to apply immediately. DOT is going to take some number of months to review these plans and issue their approval. And we'd like to construct these improvements at the same time as we are building buildings 3 and 4.
Yep.
What we would like to do is have the improvements on the ground before we get occupancy permits for 5 and 6, right? So we're gonna try to phase this thing so that buildings 1 and 2 are already there, 3 and 4 are built, 3 and 4 are built and potentially occupied before the improvements are fully completed, but they'll need to be completed to occupy 5 and 6.
So if I remember, I'm just thinking ahead, I remember correctly, I think it was, you wanted to pay for 13% of the intersection improvement? Was that the number?
Essentially, that's essentially right. And let me just add a little, the construction for one of the buildings has already commenced. And I've got a national tenant, for the other building in phase 2 as well, who's anxious to do that. This plan that's in front of you, we hope to get a driveway permit application to the state by early in August. Vanass Associates, who's the preeminent firm in the state for traffic engineering, I've retained them to do the plan. We hope to file it with the state first week or so in August, all other things being equal. We're anticipating 3 to 4 months maybe of back and forth to finalize things. And we would hope to be in the ground, there's some subject twos, but to be in the ground next spring to do the improvements on the intersection.
Let me amend your statement, amending my statement, which is that some of that traffic plan requires rights from third parties. Some of them are here, and we need to formalize those arrangements as well. Right now, what we've been talking to them about is a conceptual plan that we think DOT will approve and that we think will lead to a conversation about obtaining some rights. We don't want to confuse anybody by asking for something that changes. And so we want to do, we absolutely want to be transparent, but we don't want to start collecting easements and we don't want to start affecting people's property until we know they're going to get approved. Right. Everyone's seemingly getting along great, but we don't want to get ahead of ourselves.
And let me, can I take a second just to describe what the plan is? Because I think that's really the most important thing. And I know and we have already met, Carrie and myself and Dave Stack, with the homeowners who are most impacted, and I'm sure I can't speak for them, but just so you understand, what this is going to involve, it's going to be a significant upgrade to the intersection from a safety standpoint, from a functionality standpoint, and what it involves is, as you're going south to north on Route 3A, there'll be a turn, a left-hand turn lane onto Dow Road. In addition, there will be a pass-through lane around that left-hand turn lane so that traffic can continue to travel from south to north, not impacted by that turn lane. So there will be a left turn lane. And so in order to accomplish that and some other related things, we're gonna use the right-of-way on the west side of 3A there. the east side is smack up, everybody's seen that telephone pole. There is a right-of-way there, but it would be very difficult. You'd have to replace a lot of poles, there's grading issues, and this is what the DOT wanted anyway. So we're gonna give that left-hand turn lane with a pass-through lane, and then going north to south, there will be a turn lane turning onto Dow Road. So the traffic is gonna be impacted both ways. In order to accomplish that, we've talked to the homeowners, I mean, there's a process that Ari went through. For the Johnstons, who are on the southbound corner, it would require about 415 feet, 420 feet, just at the intersection, and it's primarily for grading. And on the on the north side of that intersection, the LaCroix's home, and I know they're here as well, to create the right turn lane, it's gonna be a total of about 2,500 feet. Square feet.
Not linear.
Oh, I'm sorry,
The
2,500
400
square.
and something was square feet.
Feet, we're talking square feet, I'm sorry, I
Okay.
wasn't clear. That's why I got Ari here.
You're not the measurement guy.
So, yeah, far from it. And in both instances, most of the, both on the south and the north home, it is for grading purposes. The easement we need, there's not gonna be an acquisition, it's just an easement. If we can accomplish everything, that's what's gonna be needed. Primarily a grading easement for both of the corner pieces.
Do you have a sense of how much this is gonna cost? Ballpark?
Yes. I mean, hey, you know, who knows what tomorrow is, but, so FL Merrill, the local contractor here, they're doing my site work, though Audley did the original. Merrill is doing the site work on my site, and they will be doing, unless there's a problem, but the state is comfortable with them, they're gonna do the intersection work. And today, they've given me a number in the neighborhood of 350 to 500,000. And that's obviously subject to a lot of, and the plan, this plan, obviously, as Ari said, is only a concept. So when the final details,
Take us.
but this is the pricing, yeah, I'm not a technical guy.
So with all that, I guess the other part that you're looking for is changing this. Are you looking to be able to get occupancy permit for the phase 2 part earlier? Because right now it says you need this intersection.
The answer
before
to
you-
that is yes. And one other point in describing this upgrade, it's really critical. And again, I know they're here, and I hope they speak up, whatever they got to say, I think we can address. On the LaCroix's home, on the northbound home, one of the major things that I'm gonna work with them to try to accomplish is they have hedges that really negatively impact traffic that is looking to turn left going north. So we're gonna fix the right, we've got the turning lane, but those, and we've talked about it, either replacing them or removing them, and in conjunction with some other things that we may be able to do for them. That and the stop bar on a Dow Road, just those two alone. Forget about the turn lane on each side. Just working through that vegetation is really gonna upgrade the safety. And so to answer your question, I thought that's important to know. And yes, I think what Ari said is, I'm moving ahead with the 2 buildings in phase 2. My hope is, my hope is to finish one of the buildings and give for occupancy in October. And depending on the negotiation with the other tenant, it would probably be first quarter of next year.
The reason we don't want to tie phase 2 to completion of the traffic improvements is because we can't tell.
You ain't gonna have it by, you ain't gonna have it by October, that's for sure.
Oh, no,
That's the reason. We can't tell you how long.
and the roads are closed, too.
We can't tell you how long it's gonna take to deal with DOT and have them issue a permit. We don't know if we're gonna then be right in the middle of winter conditions. And we don't know how long it will take, though everything's going fine, we don't know how long it will take to do negotiations with the landowners for the easements that are needed. And so we don't wanna be in this situation where everything's moving along appropriately, but the building's finished and we can't get into it because DOT took too long.
And to be honest with you, I would have to be 100% honest, that building is expensive. My bank is not gonna lend me money unless I have this issue addressed. And so the long and short of it is, if we can't continue to move this process with the ability to get a C of O for the phase two buildings, I'm gonna literally stop, and that will not be good.
Any,
I just wanna clarify the intersection plan itself. For northbound traffic, it's not actually a left turn lane.
It's
There is
it's a bypass
a
lane.
bypass lane, so the cars driving north can drive north. If somebody stops to turn left, there's a bypass lane so you can go around
I
them.
imagine it would be similar to going south, turning on River Road, right?
Yeah, it's basically an 11-foot lane.
That was the compromise the state landed on, DOT landed on. They wanted something to allow bypassing traffic, but they recognized that the right-of-way wasn't wide enough.
Okay. But so it will shift the travel lane a little
A
bit.
little bit to the west, correct.
So yeah, we.
That's kind of what I figured, and it wasn't the engineer explaining it, so.
You figured right.
Thank you.
Anybody, any other questions from the board? So we need to run this in public too? So this is a public hearing, so if anybody from the public, or like the neighbors, have any comments, questions, this is the time to get it on the record.
You wanna come up? Oh, sure, okay.
You want us to sit, stand?
Sure.
It's comfortable.
Whatever comes.
I'm Jennifer Johnston. I am at 3 Dow Road, which is the southbound home.
Can you show us on that, this person here?
Introduce yourself for the record, too.
Oh, yes, and I'm Nancy LaCroix, and I'm at 4 Dow Road.
So,
Jennifer is
the
where?
Johnstons are on the left side.
Nancy.
The
And
newer house?
the LaCroix is
Yeah,
on
the
the
newer
right
house, I was gonna
side.
say, old schoolhouse.
Okay.
And we did meet with Peter Levine and Miss Makinen. I don't know if I said your name right.
Mackinnon.
Makinen.
Close enough.
We know what you mean.
Last week to discuss the plans, which are they're very much improved from the first 6 or 7 that we saw. Because it impacts our homes less. At this point, Nancy and Ron's home is impacted more directly than mine. Mine is mostly 415 square feet, approximately, just grading. And I am comfortable with this plan as it is because of that change in the plan. The prior ones had a lot of frontage of my home being impacted. So this is a better opportunity for me. I did want to get some answers about, what the grading material was gonna be, and I know you don't have answers to that yet, but I just wanted that on the record. I wanted to find out what the driveway for the 3-car garage that is on 3A, that's on my property, what material would be used. And those are really the only 2 outstanding questions I had. And I know Nancy has some as well for her property.
Yeah, I mean, I realize that the shrubbery right on the corner, as you're trying to pull out from Dow Road to go left or right, there is some invasive shrubbery there.
It's being polite.
Yeah. And they would definitely want to get rid of that, I understand, and that's fine. There is also on Dow Road an enormous, beautiful maple tree.
On her property.
On our property that I love. I don't know what the status would be for that, and I have a personal, post lamp light and things like that. I have some azalea bushes and my mother-in-law's rose bush and things that they would probably have to remove. So that being said, I just,
Let me just, Jennifer, just to be clear, one of the state's report, one of DOT's requirements is, Jennifer has a 3-car garage, as she said, and the driveway actually goes to Dow Road, 3A. And that was one of the issues.
So I know, I've seen the garage there and I drive by it all the time. Do you actually have a driveway onto 3A?
No.
I didn't think.
But there is a grandfathered.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah. Okay.
Let her explain.
When it was built, it's my understanding that it was grandfathered to not have a driveway permit. So I have a driveway on Dow Road and not on 3A. And part of my understanding is part of the decision-making with DOT is that they would issue a driveway permit for that garage, which would, I believe the words were, legitimize the property.
And just to answer, that driveway, and again, the driveway's gonna go out to, there's another driveway from the other house, so they're gonna sort of meet, but the driveway construction, and again, I don't have all the plans, is gonna be crushed stone. And you would ask for that. And the, for both the LaCroix and the Johnson's home, again, most of what is gonna be needed is for grading purposes, and that's just gonna be grass.
Grass, you said?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and it's just gonna be the transition from the easement area to the road.
Would the tree be affected? Do you have any idea yet?
You know what?
I don't know.
I'm not 100% sure.
It's good to hear that it's important, and we'll save it if we can. But the other things that you mentioned, I think, could be transplanted, and we can work with you to figure out where you'd like them.
Okay, and that's stuff that you would work with too.
100%.
Like, you know, the mother-in-law's rose bush.
Something tells me
Yeah,
that
somebody
we won't obtain
transplant
the
that thing.
necessary easement until we have a plan for Mom's rose bush.
Okay.
And that's just fine.
I, on the other hand, have a very large and ugly tree that's in this area, and you're welcome to it.
You're right. And I will just say, at our meeting, there was a little back and forth about which trees they want down and which they don't. But
That's how this goes.
And that's how it goes. And
but
we'll-
Jen likes my tree,
I do. I'm here to advocate for her tree as well.
You got a nice big maple, you got a big ugly pine.
even though all the leaves blow over there.
Save it if we can.
And the last thing I think Nancy wanted to talk about was a monetary offer is going to be made for this property that we will lose. It is not equal amounts of property, and the offer should not be equal. It should reflect the amount of property
footage.
that each person is losing.
Fair enough.
So I just wanted that as part of the record.
And toward that end, I did get a third-party appraisal for one of the 6 plans previously, so where there was more of an impact on the Johnston house. And I said to Carrie, and we'll sit down and we'll figure out that aspect of it.
One of the things the state does, which is particularly interesting, is they say, you need to go get land from other people to build the plan that we insist that you build. But we're not going to help you acquire that land, which they would do for themselves. And we're not gonna give you any money, even though you're working on our road. So good luck to you. So we obviously will make the arrangements we need to very graciously accept the cooperation of our neighbors.
And I will just add, there is a small impact on a third property as well, so there will
And
be
that
reaching
impact
out
is
to
really
them.
most for the new homeowner next to the LaCroix. The driveway, we're gonna have to put a drainage pipe underneath it.
Okay,
So the
that
water
next house, south.
Yeah, that new house,
Oh, north, okay.
yeah, north.
The new, yeah, the.
Walter's old
Well,
house.
everyone
yeah,
else has Walter's house.
The eyesore that's gone.
I've never met this Walter guy, but everybody's talking about
No,
him.
he's passed now.
Oh, that's why.
Don't try to meet him.
Oh, wait,
Do you have anything else you wanted to talk about?
Okay, because of that turning lane.
it comes that far.
Yeah, it just gets to their,
Okay.
You can see it, it's clipped on the plan, you can see it there.
I want to thank you both for coming to the meeting tonight.
We don't have anything further unless anyone has any questions.
All right.
And you're not, you're not
No,
opposed to this.
we acknowledge that the intersection needs improvement. Having lived there, especially during rush hour times, it's difficult getting in and out of our driveways and making the turns onto 3A. So we do acknowledge improvement is needed. We just want to make sure that the impact to us is
And you've got to see all the plans and they've been keeping you up
every
to date on
version, yes.
Good,
Thank you.
Okay,
Any other
thanks.
questions?
that's it, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Does anybody else in the public have any comments or questions about this? Not seeing any, I'll close the public hearing.
The only issue I have is how do we make sure this actually happens? So we initially put this condition on because because of the traffic.
Yeah.
And now we're proposing doubling the amount of traffic. I'm not sure if that's true, but there's double the amount of buildings. And so I foresee that there will be a negotiation with the town about the cost intersection. I do not suspect, and this is my opinion only, that the town will agree to pay 87% of that intersection. So there will be a negotiation. That said, like Peter, you've been a great tenant, and we love that you're building these buildings, because you, as you said, they're expensive, and we get to tax them. And so we wanna make this work, so I'm trying to figure out, like, how do we, I'm fine with occupancy of that first building.
Yep.
I just wanna have some mechanism, so obviously, phase 3 can't be built.
Yeah.
But
So phase 2 right now, you're
It's
building.
two buildings.
You're building one of them now.
Exactly.
There's one you haven't started.
Then I'm negotiating with another tenant for the other building in phase 2. So my guess is, and there's no certainty in anything, but I'm in the middle of just doing the site work, just starting the site work for one, and I don't have a lease signed for the other, but I anticipate, all of the things being equal, getting it. And to answer your question, and we've talked to the TIF about financing it, and it's basically, without getting into too many details, it would, with all the 6 buildings up, it would be basically a 3-year payback.
Yep. I remember we had that math.
Yes, and that math hasn't really changed. But the only way, I will say, not to throw stones at anybody, just to give you an idea, when the original 4 buildings, the real estate taxes, I know that's not a purview, but I just want to give you an idea because it goes to the payback. The original, the old Bow buildings, the 4 buildings that they had making bows in before I bought it, those taxes are about $60,000. The tax bill today is about $145,000 just for the 2 buildings. So my point is, without, and I know that's not necessarily in your purview, but the 6 buildings, the new buildings, will generate, a good $170,000 to $200,000 in taxes. And with, as I said before, $350,000 to $500,000 cost, it's probably a 2-3 year payback when fully built out.
That's why I said, it's great to have you.
Yeah.
Oh, we love that.
No, and I understand, you've been.
I'm
you've
trying to
been
be
a good steward.
transparent.
You're being transparent, you're getting the stuff there, it's, you're coming in, you're obviously working on it. I wish the state worked as, as.
Let me say this
Better
about
with
the
you, but-
state. If I would have been a little smarter, I probably would have been to this point a few months earlier. We'll leave it at that.
I mean, can we move that to, phase 3 or even a spill, being able to do the occupancy?
Well, based on our notes, the question is, do we grant occupancy for both buildings before that intersection is complete? Or do we grant occupancy for one building?
Or
That's-
for one phase.
Well,
It's phase 2 is
Phase
2
2,
buildings.
which is 2 buildings.
Right,
Yeah.
oh, okay, so you're
So-
talking about one building for phase 2 versus 2 buildings for phase 2?
Well, that
Basically,
would be the question, 1 or 2.
yeah.
And, he's been going, he's getting in good tenants. I can,
Here's the crisis we face. We don't want to have to mobilize multiple times to build 2 buildings that are essentially going to be built at the same time. And DOT's process is unpredictable.
And then you don't want to be paying taxes on a building that sits empty because you can't get.
That is definitely a bad thing.
I couldn't build it.
well, I would
one would
imagine,
finance it.
we wouldn't be able to say the building has the value if you can't.
Right.
Well,
I
Occupy.
imagine we'd make that argument.
I'll tell you what, before you'd even get to that opportunity, I couldn't build.
yeah,
Yeah.
a lender is
Because the
not
bank's
gonna,
not
No,
gonna.
the bank is gonna,
they're gonna pull the
they're gonna
drain.
need something that we're talking about in that process.
So the question to the board is, we obviously have this condition or stipulation because of safety concerns. Are we comfortable granting the 2 new buildings
And
with,
moving the condition to 3, phase 3.
yeah, moving the condition to phase 3, buildings 5 and 6, with the sort of good faith that this intersection will be proceeding with DOT and as long as it takes?
The build out for the intersection is about 2 months.
I'm not worried about the intersection, I'm worried about DOT.
No, we've worked, you know, between
Once you
Ari
get state
and,
approval, you're 2 months to build them.
Correct. If your concern is that we'll do buildings 3 and 4 and then just walk away,
that's not,
whether it's 13% or a higher percentage, that's still a great deal. So we wouldn't walk away from the town's participation in the intersection. And we certainly wouldn't walk away from the ability to put tenants in buildings 5 and 6, where we already have expressed interest. We just can't, we can't sign anything. We can't sign a letter of intent because,
too much uncertainty.
yeah, we don't know whether we're gonna get DOT to a place where they issue.
I'd be comfortable approving both buildings.
Phase 2.
Phase 2.
Yes.
As long as you come to the select board pretty quickly so we can start those discussions.
How about the next meeting?
Well, so they do need to come to the select board to get approval to submit the DOT application because
I mean,
the
the
in the
next-
town's name.
Right, so it's a town, so it's,
I think it's the 15th of July.
Well, we have one on Monday, but it's a
Well-
5-minute meeting to sign some documents.
okay, well, what about the one after that?
July 15th, he's already on it.
15th,
He's already on it.
Okay. So,
I'm fine with moving the condition for the occupancy permits to phase 3 from what's on phase 2. I
I'll
don't
make
know
a
if anybody
motion
else
that,
is.
The only hiccups will be something with DOTs
yeah,
The other,
issues.
so the other point of potential failure is funding. That's the question mark still.
Well, toward that end, and not that, I've already met, Kip, I know you weren't involved in this, but I have already met with Dave and Carrie and your TIF advisor, I forgot the gentleman's name, Stuart Arnett, I believe his name is.
oh, is it? Oh, good.
Yeah, so I've met with them already, too long ago to even remember at this point. And so I'm prepared to, you know, there is a framework here, and I'm not here to negotiate for what Kip's saying or not. I would say, just to be clear, the intersection, based on DOT's scaling or however they grade it, there's work that is required, it warrants it now, and they're not doing it. I'm doing everybody a favor, and I will get to that point. I will sit there and I'll figure out how to make this work for everybody, but it is warranted to have an upgrade without me, without anything that's been done on my property. So we'll work it out.
make a motion, this does not have a regional impact.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Was that Michael?
There's no waivers?
No, this isn't as
Yeah.
much, it's not like a full application, it's
Yeah,
just
this
a
is
change, looking at that one condition from the original application. So the two parts of it are switching out the intersection plan from the original one to this plan. And then the second part is adjusting the condition that sets the what buildings can be occupied prior to the work being completed.
Okay. In terms of conditions, we have receipt of any DOT driveway permit. If adequate construction oversight cannot be provided, third-party engineering will be provided by the expense of the applicant. All other previous conditions remain in effect. And are there any other conditions the board wants to put on there?
Yeah, I just want to, number 2 is I put in as a recommendation. So I talked to our town engineer, and there's actually a letter from him in here, from Scott Borsier from Gale. He looked at the intersection plan and put together this review letter, basically saying that it's consistent with the traffic counts and it helps mitigate the truck traffic. So basically it does what it needs to do. But I also talked to him about what construction oversight would look like for a project like this. He felt that since so much of it takes place in the DOT right of way, that their own engineers would most likely be doing the oversight. But there may be parts of it that need to happen from the town's engineer, and this condition just says that the developer would be responsible for paying that share of the construction oversight. Does that make sense?
Just,
Yeah, it's typical.
I have spent a lot of money, soft costs, just to design the 6, 7 plans. I'm prepared to move forward, to get it all done.
No other conditions?
Well, we changed 3, right?
We basically,
Occupancy of the phase 3 buildings may not occur.
Yeah.
So it sounds like you might be reading from something, so is the motion maker gonna read?
yeah, we're
yes.
just, what we do is we basically get our ducks in a row and then I make a very long-winded motion.
Ducks in a row is a good thing, and I'm a patient person.
So those are the conditions, no others? Okay. I'll make a motion to conditionally approve application number 203-25 to modify the conditions of approval of application 203-22 as follows, to switch out the more recent intersection plan with previous plans, and what else?
And then to, it's hard to structure that, how to say it. And then to adjust the condition number 8, you said it was of the original
It is
approval?
8.
Yeah, and then to adjust condition number 8 with all the conditions as previously listed, as proposal complies with the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations, given the plans presented and waivers granted.
I should say site plan, sorry.
The conditions of approval are receipt of the NHDOT driveway permit. If adequate construction oversights cannot be provided by NHDOT, third-party engineering will be provided by the expense of the applicant. Occupancy of phase 3 may not occur until the construction of the intersection improvements are complete.
And phase 2 occupancy, not until the DOT driveway permit has been approved, because that was what he had
Well, it's receipt
proposed.
of, the condition number 1 is
Okay, yeah,
receipt
yeah.
of the driveway permit.
Right.
Okay. Sorry, Ginger, that was messy, but that's my motion.
We can sort it out tomorrow, don't worry.
So that lets him get occupancy permits for the phase
Phase
2
2,
buildings.
As long as the DOT permit has been approved.
Yep.
So could I just clarify that the only change you've made from the staff recommendation is in bullet 3?
Yes.
To remove the reference to the second phase 2 building?
Yes,
Thank you.
I need a second.
I'll second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'd say the finding of facts, I'll make a motion that the finding of facts are that, it's appropriate use for the site. They're making a good faith effort to improve the intersection to take in more traffic. And
Town's engineer reviewed the intersection plan and found it adequate.
as Carrie said, the town's engineer found it adequate after review.
And that the applicant has met with the abutters and we've received positive feedback from them. Yeah.
Perfect. Okay, that's my motion.
Second on.
I'll second. Oh, that's right.
All in favor?
Michael?
All opposed? You got a yes? You got it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I'm sure we'll be in touch. It's not the last time I'll be here.
You just got me on speed dial.
July 15.
All right.
You're gonna be quick.
That wasn't.
They took the clock down.
Yeah,
Yeah, we haven't hung it, they're still rotating, so.
all right.
nothing's-
Application 207-25, Devin Coleman, site plan application for proposed 6-building, 14,100 square feet self-storage facility, including associated draining improvements located at 9 Tallwood Drive, which we just came from a site walk from there. Welcome.
Good evening. My name is George Chadwick with Bedford Design. To my left is Devin Coleman, the applicant. As the chair just mentioned, we just came from a site walk. I think at the end of the last meeting, that was one of the last items that the board wanted to take up. We did do that, so at this point, we're here to answer any questions the board may have on behalf of the project.
I guess that seems pretty straightforward, but if any, yes, you can.
Has there been a decision made regarding sprinklers versus separating the units?
Yeah, the fire chief called, he said he was good with just a 2-hour rating between the buildings. that were
Sorry, I can't hear.
The fire chief called and said he was okay with us just dividing the larger buildings that are the 3,000 square foot buildings with a 2-hour fire resistant rating on the walls.
Originally, the fire department had said that the larger buildings needed sprinklers due to their size, but then they did some further research and found that as long as the individual units are they're separated with a firewall, then that's not required. It's considered basically 2 smaller buildings.
Right.
Is
I
it
think it's only
the
for 2
individual
that you-
units or basically just dividing the building?
It's dividing the building. It's only 2 of the larger buildings, I believe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just the 2 large ones in the middle.
Okay.
So there will not be
I know our
one.
building's got one of those. Anything else we got?
Last meeting, we talked about moving the fence that goes through that front basin.
We will relocate fence to the street side of the pond, as we discussed at the last meeting.
Did anything else come up at the sidewalk?
A lot of sand.
Just a big flat tile thing.
Still understanding?
No, we talked about that it's 60% impervious, so it's under the 80%.
Yeah.
Nothing from me.
Last time you talked about aesthetics some, and I think landed on, you were comfortable with the brighter blue on the doors.
Well, I
as they
guess it's on the
proposed.
doors and they're not gonna be facing the street. So I think, when I realized that, I reread that, that's fine.
Okay, and I think they made a good attempt with the landscaping to help soften the part you can see from the street at
I
least.
did not look at the landscaping.
It'll
Is that,
It's in there.
take your eye away from all the stacks of metal studs.
It's industrial for a reason, right?
Yeah.
yeah, the plants look good.
Yeah, they're all
All native stuff.
native plants. That was one of the initial
Cultivars, but
comments.
they're basically cultivars.
It's gonna tie in.
Nativars, they call them.
It's gonna tie into like 7 Tallwood. That's where our office is at now. It's gonna look the
So
same.
just kind of blend it.
Yeah.
We've already accepted it last time. So we get to open to public.
Yes.
So this is a public hearing, if anybody has any questions or comments. Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing.
All right, and then I believe there were no waivers requested.
That is correct.
Right.
That's great.
How we doing?
So the,
Did we do regional impact?
yeah, I did that last time, so that's all set. Conditions, I listed a few potential conditions with relocating the fence, as you just mentioned.
Driveway.
Driveway permit. I guess we'd wanna see the revised plan that doesn't have the well and the.
Sure.
So we just, a quick revision there.
Or we make that a condition.
So revised plan to remove well and fire suppression
Relocate fence.
and relocate fence.
Remove well. Update fire suppression.
Yeah,
And then move fence to the roadside.
that's to the street side of the basin. Oh, wait,
It's already,
project side of the basin or the street side? Which should we just, cause I wrote.
I think we agreed on street side, push it back.
Right, yeah, that was.
Okay, for
what
some
we
reason I
preferred.
the
think the
street.
minutes said project side.
Any other conditions? I'll make a motion to conditionally approve application 207-25 with all the conditions as previously listed as the proposal complies with the zoning ordinance and the site plan regulations, given the plans presented and waivers granted with the following conditions. Receipt of driveway permit, comply with department head comments, professional stamps and signatures, as well as owner signatures on the final plan, all waivers granted and conditions of approval on the final plan, and revise the plan to remove the well, update the fire suppression mechanisms, and to relocate the fence to the street side of the basin along the front of the site.
I'll second.
Before you vote, the minutes from the last meeting say that they would move the fence, they put the basin on the street side and the fence would go on the project side to help prevent the snow being plowed into the basin. It's a lot of stairs.
Well, I guess.
So that's,
how-
you don't have to do what you said last time, I just trying to.
I guess the question is, where, in which location would the basin get less snow plowed? Because if it's outside of the fence, it's gonna get the street plowed.
Snow
I think inside you have more control over,
I would prefer the fence on the roadside,
yeah.
if we can accommodate that.
I think
Yeah.
it's closer to the parking lot than it is to the road, because there's kind of a shoulder off the road, but you're right, there's snow coming at it from both directions.
Yeah, I think if you go to the
And
roadside,
trucks.
I mean,
pull
you're
off
still
the
gonna have
side
it.
there.
you're gonna still be a ways off asphalt.
Oh, yeah, I mean, you saw where we parked
Yeah.
today, right?
Yeah.
That's all in the right of way still, so.
Yeah, so if you're on the roadside, you still have 10,
8 or
15
10
feet.
feet, I would
Yeah,
say.
whatever, before you're
So
off asphalt.
can you just reword that, relocate fence to,
The roadside,
The street.
the road or street
roadside.
side, that was what was in
Yeah,
the
that
original
was what
motion.
Kip said, yeah.
Or
So
street
just-
side of the basin.
Okay.
Need a second.
I'll second.
Yeah, there was a second, yeah.
Oh, that's a second.
Okay, we ready to vote now?
Yep.
Yeah, all right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion regarding the finding of facts that this is an appropriate use for this area of town. The fire chief has approved the updated fire suppression. The design elements sort of fit with the area in terms of the plants and the coloration of the doors.
I just wanna, the site is a little bit tricky to develop, it has some constraints, and I think that this is a great use of the site because it doesn't
Yes.
need septic, now it doesn't even need water, doesn't need parking, so it's a good,
It's a nice way to
it's a
fill in that
good
last
way to
lot.
use the site that might not be very usable otherwise.
I think my first one summarized that.
I like to be a little more specific, you don't have to, I don't get to vote, you don't have to use mine.
So that's my motion.
Second. That was.
That was Michael.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Right.
There we go.
Good luck.
Thank you
Good
very
luck,
much for
happy
your time.
building.
Appreciate it.
All right, moving right along.
it is a little hard to hear with.
Application 502-25, Donald and Catherine Lane and John and Nancy LeBeau Revocable Trust, minor subdivision application for lot line adjustments between lots 22-A1 and 22-A2 located at 45 and 49 Putney Road. Who do we got talking about?
Good evening, how we doing?
Good.
Jacques Belanger, I'm the one to prepare the application for the Catherine Lane and the LeBeaus. What the LeBeaus are doing is buying another piece of land from Kitty Lane, Catherine Lane, about 5.4 acres. It's on the, the easterly side of the LeBeau lot. What it is John and Nancy have, they're reaching retirement and they're trying to button up this corner of the property, really, kind of protect it. They don't know what's gonna go on with the larger tract that's left over. It's about 45 acres left over. It's got the barn across from Don and Catherine's house. It's kind of falling apart a bit. And what they want to do is they've got the opportunity to buy that space of land between their existing home and the Putney Meadow and kind of button it up and kind of save it for themselves and more space for them and their kids and grandkids, really, is what it comes down to. That's really about it. It's 5.4 acres. They're just adding it to their 10.24 acres that they have now, bringing it up to about 15.63. No new lots, just changing some acreages around.
We got a few questions from abutters over the past couple weeks and explained that it's no new lot. People want to know, what are they building? What's happening? How many new houses are coming in? And they go, it's no new development, just no new lots.
I'll make a motion to accept the application as complete.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right. Board, got any questions?
None from me.
No, no.
I'm gonna open this to the public. Anybody from public? Yes, sir.
I'm John Erdy. I'm an abutter to the property. I'm lot 22B, I believe. I have no objection to what John's doing there. I guess the question I have, though, is with the new line approaching the shoreline of the pond, does that give him any control of that pond? And is that pond still a state or a private area? I believe it's over 10 acres.
I think it's an over 10 acre pond, but it's not a natural pond. It's controlled by the dam. So it's not governed by the state, because it's not a natural
Okay,
body.
there's a dam on that can get controlled, and that's been a problem over the years. So I guess I'm questioning, does John have, I won't say any control, but does he have any say in what would happen to that, where you've got 4 or 5 other abutters around that pond?
The dam's not on the property, right?
No, it's on a separate tract.
So he wouldn't have control over the
I'm
dam.
not sure even who owns the dam now.
And I guess the question is, I thought the dam was taken out, because I know a number of years ago that had come up that it was, in a bad condition. And I thought they took it out and the beavers came in
And they're
and
still
put
there.
back in a beaver dam. So I thought the original dam had been removed.
I thought it had been opened up, and again, the beavers are just never ending.
Well, it was a good spot, so
Yeah.
they,
I remember taking my kid down there to look at it, so. I don't even know who owns the dam right now, honestly.
Well, I think it's shared by, there are property owners on
Jacqueline.
Dunbarton Center Road.
Yeah.
And I believe there's a couple on Buckingham Drive. And I'm not sure if there's any off of Jacqueline and Dunbarton. But I know when the dam was a problem, it was a problem for who owned it, who was gonna do what to it.
That's why I thought it had been pulled out.
Yeah. That was one of Don's things too, wasn't it, that dam?
Yes.
Always fretting over that dam.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Yeah, I think it was when, that's how I'd heard about it. He was on the planning board.
So, I mean, I don't see, just because you have that pond comes up into that land, it's not gonna give him rights to control what's on somebody else's land.
He's just basically going up to the edge of the pond, really. is what it comes down to. And again, it gives him the opportunity to kind of button up that corner where there's a little bit of upland, that if something was done with the remaining tract, you might
Yeah.
put somebody behind him.
Yeah, I mean, when I looked online, and you can see here, is that the house is so far back, it's right adjacent, close to the property line. So if there was development adjacent, it would be close to the house.
Anything else? Sorry,
That's it, thank you.
not seeing anything else, I'll close the public hearing. Straightforward.
I had a couple checklist items, they've pretty much been resolved. He got me my second north arrow I always demand. And then, were you able to get the elevation on that second grid
We'll
side?
establish when we set the monuments.
Okay.
Yeah. I thought I made
So
that.
we have elevation on one of the state grid coordinates, but we need it on the second one,
So
so we'll
you-
make that a condition of.
Condition would be elevation coordinates.
Elevation, how
On
do you word
state
it?
grid
Elevation on, second
Control point?
point.
Elevation on, I'm sorry, I can't hear very well. but
I'll
this is
read them
blowing.
back, don't worry.
Okay,
We're
thank
just
you.
getting them like, ducks in a row, period. I'll make a motion, this does not have a regional impact.
Second.
All those in favor?
Jonathan?
Mike,
I mean,
Mike.
Michael?
was that aye? All in favor?
Jonathan usually says that.
Opposed?
Whoever you are over there.
The ayes have it.
And then, there are a couple of
Waivers.
waiver requests. And then, do you wanna walk through the waiver requests so that they know what they are?
Confusing. I can, I guess. We're looking for a couple of waivers. I think 302C, I think my guy wrote the waivers up, and I'm not sure why he included the buffer strip, because that's just the 35-foot front buffer, I think, isn't it?
Yeah, it's some on the sides too, I think, but,
All right, he's asking to waive several of them. You want to read the whole things through, or?
you don't have to read it all, but if you can just kind of explain to them what you're asking for and why.
All right, proposed contours, 302B, 603L, 604C. Proposed contours, because we're not really proposing any new development or anything like that, just moving a lot line and adding space to the lot, so it's really irrelevant. The buffer strips, there's no new development again, so really not protecting anything. The lot boundaries, the 302E, we're pulling the boundary on that property, the larger tract from an existing recorded plan. It's, it's getting up there in years. We didn't survey the entire thing. It's a good representation of the property, but it's not it's not a current survey, so we're asking to waive detailing those lot lines, basically what it comes down to. And we do have a detailed survey of the property where we're exchanging the lot lines and the local lots that are around them, and the entirety of the whole property. So we're asking for a waiver for the complete survey of the property. Unsuitable lands, 302H and I, and 603N. Again, it's no new buildings or developments being proposed, no disturbance, it's just, again, buying that buffer, that safety, tying up the property so it can't be developed. So it's really nothing new happening, just securing the space. So there's kind of some effort for no reason on that particular one. Then I added a couple more today, just to clarify a couple things. 603C, which I think is actually throwing the meets and bounds on the entire tract. We asked for the waiver not to survey it, but also not to put bearings and distances on it. And 704, the maximum distances between the monuments. Again, on the larger tract, anything over 500-foot distance, not to throw set monuments on longer lines to break them up. But I did tell Carrie that on the backside of the parcel A that's being transferred, we have a line that's almost 800 feet long. We have no issue throwing the bound in there with that control, and that's easy access to do it. So we'll throw the bound on that lot line.
So that's a good condition. Is to, set the new bound on the new property boundary, is that clear? Does that make sense?
Set the lot corners. There's really there'll be just the two monuments required.
Yeah.
Everything else exists.
Elevation on second. Elevation on second.
Control point.
Make a motion to approve waivers on checklist item number 2, 302B, 603L, 604C, checklist item 3, 302C, checklist item 5, 302E, and checklist item 8, 302H and I, and 603N.
And then he added These ones, yeah, these two right here, yeah, today.
And section 603C and section 704.
Motion?
That's a motion.
All in favor?
Aye. So the conditions of approval would be address missing checklist items, professional stamps and signatures, all waivers and conditions on the final plan, set new boundaries on new property, bounds on new property boundary, and add the elevation on the second control point. Conditions? Any others? So those are the conditions that I make a motion to conditionally approve application 502-25 with all the conditions previously listed as the proposed complies with the zoning ordinance and the subdivision regulations given the plans presented and waivers granted.
I'll second.
All in favor? Aye. Opposed?
That's where I really falter, and she's gonna edit me, that's.
It's the simple ones that are harder to come up with.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of like, my motion for the finding of facts is that just simple lot line adjustment.
There's no new development.
There's no new development being proposed. This is more buttoning up paperwork than anything else. It's in a technical term, I use.
Great, I like it.
Okay, that's my motion.
Second.
In favor?
Aye.
Michael as well?
Yes.
Can you hear you, Michael?
Great, thank
He's
you.
facing the other way. I yell at my husband.
Plowing through, let's do this, come on.
And I have this glowing right on me, so.
Right, yeah.
I'm trying to project my voice.
You are here pretty well.
All
I
right,
do, I
got a lot.
application 405-25, Maple Syrup Enterprises LLC. For protection conditional use permit for proposed storage, handling, and use of regulated substance in quantities exceeding 100 gallons associated with a proposed 25,324 square foot truck sales, parts, and service facility located at 310 Route 3A. Welcome back. Good
evening, everyone.
Carrie, can you put the plan up? I mean, I know we're gonna be talking about it, but since it's not in our packet.
Oh, yeah, I don't think I even included it because it's not even really relevant to the.
Yeah.
Oh, really?
Well, I mean,
it's just
it
about the-
is, but let's see.
You gotta keep some fluids and more than 100 gallons of them that.
It's not a visual plan, I guess is what I'm trying to say. It's a long written plan about
Oh,
storing the
no,
materials.
okay. Wasn't there a diagram?
There's a
that showed-
sketch on the end of that.
Right,
It
where
is.
the,
Where it's all stored.
where things are
Yes.
located.
Correct.
Yeah,
Why'd you guys start talking and all?
okay.
Sure. So,
Sorry.
we're here again for the conditional use permit, due to the aquifer protection, for the storage of regulated materials, inside the building. We have, submitted that spill, prevention control plan, which has been signed off by the fire department. So this is the one last item we have with you folks as far as needing approval after the plan was reviewed by your consulting engineer and it came up that this was another item that needed addressing. Everything is planned to be stored inside the building. There is secondary containment. Nothing, they have the wash bay inside as well as the service bays. Those are all proposed to drain towards a central interior drain line that will then go to a holding tank. There's no anticipation or need to store materials outside the building, and they will be covered as required from any kind of precipitation. That also was just recently accepted by the Alteration of Terrain Bureau as well, so we are clear on that.
So this is the last thing you need,
Well,
pretty much?
with you folks.
motion to accept the application as complete.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
Team by now?
What do you, do you want us to come back next month?
No.
I mean, like a reunion show?
We would miss you, that's true.
You come to the BC meeting in August, that's how you doing.
Which one?
The business development, the Wednesday morning one.
Absolutely.
I have no questions.
I got a question either. I mean, what's the biggest, what do you get, 55 gallon
I think
drums?
the total's like 1,000 gallons between everything with, with oil and whatnot.
Yeah.
Oil, antifreeze, and
All the daily use stuff that goes through the rail system is all in the containment area anyways. It has all self-contained, so if there is a leak, it's contained into a containment area.
Yep.
The only thing, and then of course we have retail stuff that we store on shelving inside, 5 gallon pails, gallon jugs. And the only other thing is the waste oil we store in totes. It's stored inside.
Caged totes.
Yeah. But other than that, there's nothing stored outside.
Okay.
Anytime there's, we have the containment systems, pig mats, they call them, the booms, everything at all the stations.
fire department's happy with you.
Yep.
His comment was, they've done this before. He said this wasn't their first time.
Yeah, so, and all the floors drain to the middle. And they, like Matt said, they go to a containment tank. Drawn when needed, when alarm systems.
Anybody got any questions? It is a public hearing, so I'll open it to the public. Not seeing any, I will close the public hearing.
I'll make a motion that says not have regional impact.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
There's no waivers.
Nope.
So conditions are comply with department head comments, inspections may be required to verify compliance. Any other conditions?
Before you approve it, I would recommend that you review their, they have a narrative explaining how they meet all the criteria.
Where are you seeing? Oh, there it is.
So that's what you are approving it based on.
Endanger health. It's a very good findings of fact, too.
Just trying to make it easy.
Thank you,
They
appreciate
live
it.
themselves.
It's almost, Matt, it's almost like you're applying for the next time they need a third-party review for you guys to do it.
You guys do too much work in town. So the Drinking Water Protection Committee Chair's comment was that the facility would need to be added to the municipal water best management practice inspection list.
Should that be a condition?
I think that's more
Is that
town meeting. I
them?
think
Is that, I was thinking
I
that's
think-
them, that's not.
I think that's our responsibility, but just more of
No, that's-
letting everyone know.
That's us, not them.
Yeah, just let it be known.
I'll make a motion to conditionally approve application 405-25 with all the conditions as previously listed as the proposal complies with zoning ordinance criteria 1205 and 1003 with the following conditions: that they comply with department head comments, that inspections may be required to verify compliance with aquifer protection performance standards, and that is it.
I'll second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I'll make a motion that with the finding of facts that the fire chief has approved, and then, Will not use, this will not materially endanger the public health or safety. It's compatible with the neighborhood, will not substantially adverse impact on highway or pedestrian safety, will not substantially impact the natural resources of the town. That's it. Edits.
Great.
It's easier when it's written down.
That's a motion.
I'll second that.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
Thank you.
There you go.
Thank you very much.
We're done with you.
Get out.
Very much appreciate.
Thank you. Good luck. And you're breaking ground.
We're waiting on the state.
Well, still waiting.
Still waiting on wetlands and DOT, I think.
DOT alteration drain, yep.
It's baby steps.
All right.
We'll let you know.
Good luck.
Thank you very much.
Okay.
Nancy, are you with us? Nancy?
Is this for number 5?
Can you hear?
Oh, I can. Can you speak up?
I can, certainly. Yes, hello, good evening.
It's coming out.
Yeah, hold on. I've got something's not right. You're coming out of the TV instead of our speaker. How do I change that? I've never done Zoom on here
Turn
before.
up the TV.
I guess we'll just turn up the TV, yeah.
Which remote?
This one, I think. All right, can you talk again?
Good evening, everyone. I am Nancy Reed with White Development.
Oh, okay, now we're getting an echo. Let me see if I can make this better.
So anyway, I might as well read into the record, all right?
Yeah, sure.
All right, application 208-25, White Development Corp., change of use site plan application to allow motor vehicle repairs and maintenance, including inspections located at 615 River Road. It is in the South Bow mixed use district. We have somebody coming to us via Zoom?
Yes. Do Zooms. That might get better or worse.
It's like Back to the Future. Wiped out.
I am here. Okay. Sure, if you can hear me, I'll speak up. I would add that we would want the motor vehicle and repair and maintenance and inspections to be the entire building, though, along with the contractor's yard. Correct. We have it marked off with conage to keep really everyone away. We watch it with the cones and measure it. So it hasn't changed dramatically over the last 6 years that I've been with the company. And so that changed the number from 800 to adding the 55-gallon that tanks that they have at the Durham bus service. Is that what you're saying? Add the totals together? Understood. Okay. So we primarily use sand as we apply for conditions, because the back half of the property is actually sand, dirt. So we don't usually put salt on the dirt. So we do use typically sand applications, but sometimes, depending on the conditions, salt is needed, but it's not our usual go-to.
Doing it? Okay, thank you. Good evening.
So old business, I see we got,
Another request for extensions?
yeah. Application 212-24, Keller Products, request for extension of site plan approval?
Right.
Is that what we just
Yeah.
approved
Yeah. I
last
thought,
meeting? Oh, no, it would have been 25, sorry.
Oh, no, this is for, we had a couple of Keller Products applications. This is for Jeff Knight's gravel pit on Keller
Oh.
Products property.
okay.
They got their AOT permit, everything's all ready, they got me draft plans to sign, I was like, ooh, those are exceeded the 90-day, and that's one of the things that's in our proposed changes to the site plan regs, because
'Cause 90 days
it's,
is
you
going
can't
out.
get state approval to 90 days.
Right.
So they
how long the
offered to be
extension?
here tonight, and I told them that there's no reason to come to the meeting.
That's what we need to do.
Don't prove me wrong. So you just need to authorize an extension of their approval.
Make a motion to authorize an extension of the site plan approval for application number 212-2 for Keller Products Incorporated
And for an additional 90 days.
for an additional 90 days. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right.
And then the other piece of old business, on the Westover subdivision, it came to our attention that a couple of utility poles were not where they were on the approved plan. There's not much that the planning board can do about this, so I just brought it to you kind of for your information and for your acknowledgement. When the utility company came out and saw where the pole had been proposed, they said we can't maintain that in that location because it's right on the edge of the stormwater basin there. So there's actually two poles instead of the one. And they're on kind of the opposite side. The first sheet in here shows where this is just a snippet of the original, it was up here in this corner. The proposed utility pole would drop. And now they are Along the roadway, there's 2 poles.
Oh, okay, it was gonna cut through and.
It
Now
was,
it's
yeah,
more-
it was gonna have to kind of go around the pond, and I just couldn't do that. So now there'll be 2 poles on Westover Lane, and then it'll drop underground for the service to all the homes. They are placed outside of the wetland, which is part of the reason that I think they needed 2 poles, was to work around those constraints.
Mm-hmm.
But they're within the right of way that was approved, so it's no additional buffer impacts than what has already been approved. Aesthetically, probably not as great as what was on the original plan, but if they can't maintain the poles, then
Yeah,
Right.
they're pretty, we just can't fix them.
or even place it, I think. So if somebody wants to make a motion just to, I'm using the word acknowledge that there's been a change to the utility pole layout for the Westover subdivision.
So move.
Oh, those in favor? Aye.
I'm actually questioning it.
Yeah,
Should I abstain?
Oh.
the original subdivision,
Oh, the original
I don't
subdivision
think it says it on here, but that,
is,
I mean, that's it.
507-23.
Yeah, that's what I thought, okay.
It doesn't matter. This is not a consequential vote, but if you wanna say you
All
can.
right, new
Carrie,
business.
I have a question, Carrie. With the, both the Westover and also actually the Sawmill,
Yeah.
when are the bounds on the individual lots supposed to be installed?
I have to
I
check,
mean,
don't
they
know off the top
really
of my
should
head.
be installed before people purchase the lot, I would think.
I would say before certificate of occupancy, right?
Right, let me check, and
Because-
sometimes we end up doing bonds for bounds, which is hard to say, a bound bond. If they can't set them yet, let me just see if
I
it's-
mean, I know Westover things are not for sale, but I know Sawmill, they definitely are. They're
Oh, they're living in
living
there, so-
yes.
Westover lots have sold.
Yeah, yeah, the road's all in,
They
they're
throw those
building
things up
this.
so quick.
No monument shall be set until all construction which would disturb or destroy the monument is completed. They shall be set and their installation certified prior to recording the final plat unless installation of the monuments is assured by performance guarantee. So we should get a performance guarantee for them.
So with Sawmill, I mean, like I know what, like I said, with Westover, they're not selling them. the
Well, they
lots.
are, they're building.
A Westover?
There's been a change to the laws that, we used to not issue building permits until the road was at least passable for emergency vehicles.
Right.
And now there's a law that says we can't restrict it, so.
Oh, okay.
So they're building houses, yeah.
So they're actually.
We need
building
housing,
houses.
so-
And the building
Doesn't matter
inspector
who.
went out for an inspection, couldn't reach it because there's a trench across the road, like the road, it's
So you
fully,
can move in.
they can't move in, but they can
Okay.
build the houses,
No
they can,
power.
yeah, you can't get occupancy, but before we didn't even issue a building permit until you could drive through. If somebody gets hurt during construction.
Yeah, so I guess the.
Okay.
Yeah, when do the bounds get installed to make sure that people know where their lot corners are?
Yeah, that's good.
All right, so since it's only 8:30, we're gonna talk about new business? See, we got a little packet.
I'd like to at least start the conversation.
Mm-hmm.
There we go. I think we might get to a point where there's a couple levels or phases of these amendments and maybe we knock off some low-hanging fruit sooner rather than later and then keep working on the tougher bits. And because I think if we keep waiting until it's perfect for There's some things that we really need to just change, like now, not tonight, because we have to have a public hearing, but, very soon, I'd like to. So I don't know if we wanna I can run through my list quickly and I can like maybe star some things that are ready to go, and we'll schedule a public hearing soon for those, and then we can identify areas that need more time and work. Alright, number one is we don't record site plans anymore, we record notices of decision. That is no reason to wait. Nothing to think about. 3, we can talk about the threshold. So right now, a site plan is not required for additions to commercial buildings, additions of not more than 1,200 square feet, so that's the cutoff. So you could build a small addition to a commercial building and not get a new site plan. We actually had one come in recently that is like exactly 1,200 square feet. Oh, they read the requirement and built to it. It seems like that might be appropriate, but it's up for discussion if you wanna address that threshold.
I guess one of the questions is, how many times can you do that?
Right, and I think so there was a note that in 2015, the planning board decided that it was intended to be cumulative, so you keep putting on little additions, eventually you need to come back to the planning board. So we don't need to address that one right now. We're gonna include, actually write out the definition of a butter, that's on the short list. Number 4 is, suitable land, see comment, where was my comment?
Not included.
Alright, I'm gonna come back to that, I wrote this a while ago. On number 6, in the review by other town officials, that's where we send around all the plans for comments to other boards and committees, department heads. It says we send the water and sewer information to the town manager, but he's not involved, we send it to the person from Whitewater, who manages the water and sewer system. And then we're gonna remove the highway safety committee because we don't have one. Adam gave me some information for the drainage and grading plan. Now I know what my comment refers to. So back to the unsuitable land. I don't know if people have the site plan regs 5.02E. It says that you have to designate unsuitable land. And it's so it includes,
Basically, it's wetlands, floodplains.
right, so land of such character that it cannot be safely used for building purposes because of danger to health or peril. Oh yeah, so no land described above and no land designated as area of special flood hazard, bog, marsh, wetlands, blah, blah, blah.
It's a steep, slope.
Yeah, slopes, ledge, easements, or whatever, shall be developed. But we do allow those areas to be developed if they're properly permitted, if with a wetlands permit, you can develop in a wetland with proper permitting. It says areas with ledge, people blast ledge and build on it.
Yeah.
And you can't
Right, but I
develop any area that's subject to an easement. and we put parking lots under utility easements, so I don't know if it's just not worded right.
Yeah, I think that's what it is, because we develop, but we don't put buildings in wetlands. I mean, I think,
I mean, sometimes we do.
well, we don't. I mean, I'm not talking about bridges or other structures, I'm talking about habitable or, you know, commercial structures, we don't put them in
buffer, it's not in the wetlands.
Yeah, so I don't know if it, in like the ledge areas, so it says it shall not be developed, I mean, should it say shall not be developed without appropriate permitting, or
Yeah, I mean,
is that,
the David White property there, I mean, that's, they're gonna dig ledge out of there for a few years before.
Yeah, I'll have to take a look at
so
that.
that's one to take a little.
And then the other thing is, and I have to check, cause they keep talking about the soil survey and it's fine. You know, soil surveys are not meant for site-specific decision-making.
Right.
So I don't know whether it's more the type of soils versus the actual survey. So I had been thinking about that recently, just overall, whether it's still worthwhile, is it more of a kind of a screening tool you have at the front that somebody will take a look at it and go, oh. But there's also, you can put like the web soil survey if you want people to produce information from there, but yeah, okay,
So
unsuitable.
that one we'll spend some more time on later, but 5.02N, Adam Sandall gave us some edits to this one. Where it said that assure that existing, there was a flow or velocity will not be exceeded. And so we changed that to a and basically, and he changed around a few other wording pieces, so I think that one's good to go because, thanks to Adam. 5.02R is the evacuation and emergency plan. We don't typically really get one of those, we typically get, I asked the fire department, like, what is an evacuation emergency plan, they didn't really know. Says a written emergency access and evacuation plan should be submitted for each development. And then it said that residential site plans should show on-site circulation and access. Generally, what we get is a plan that shows that the fire trucks can access the site. And so I took off residential because I think we should get that for all site plans, and then, and maybe that's all we need, I don't know if we need a emergency access and evacuation plan, because we don't typically actually get those. We usually, the fire department is satisfied by the circulation plan showing that they can get the trucks through, so I don't know if anyone feels strongly about that.
Be curious about what other towns have in that regard.
I just had a note, a question had come up on snow storage where someone had asked if stormwater basins count as snow storage.
Absolutely
So
not.
we should possibly make that explicit,
Right, it should not,
because it
we
wasn't,
should not put any snow in stormwater basins.
so I'll add some wording that makes it clear that it should not be in stormwater. I started creating a new section that spells out change of use.
I was gonna say, there's no 5.04 here.
Yeah, I felt that we need to, because we get a lot of these change of use site plans, and like, they get the same application of everyone else, they see the checklist, they're like, we don't know what to do with any of this, none of it applies, we do these
Right.
awkward waivers on everything. So I think it would be good to lay out, what do we wanna see for a change of use site plan? And the things I felt were most important was the parking analysis, an operational brief that just explains what they're doing. The analysis of whether or not they need the traffic impact assessment, and a narrative of any proposed changes to lighting, landscaping, et cetera. And then the planning board may request
Say
additional.
also, you know, any change in materials that are handled on site.
Yeah, like regulated substances, you
Yeah.
mean? Yeah. Anything else that you'd wanna see from these types of applications? So things like that white development that just came in. These are usually the things I ask the applicants to bring to you because that's what it seems like are the most important.
Well, I guess, do we want to, what do we wanna do when there's a change of use where there might not have been an existing site plan?
Right.
I mean, I think that we probably need to, maybe that's something we need to just generally have an existing site plan.
So I did, yeah, I think I did include, so applications for a change of use of existing approved sites do not require full site plan applications. Instead, the following are required.
Yeah, I mean, if you have an old site, there isn't a site plan for.
Well, that's what we just, with
Yeah.
the Keller.
Yeah, and that wasn't a change of use, that was just an
Right,
expansion, but
right.
yeah, so similarly, a modification to a plan that doesn't exist. It's a messy territory.
Yeah, and I think a lot of that just depends what they're trying to.
Well, also, I
Right,
would,
to
I
see.
would think about also if, you know, percent change on site, additional or impervious.
Yeah, so there's a couple categories of change of use. There's some change of use where nothing physically changes on the site, they're just
Right.
getting a new tenant, it's a new
Yeah.
use. There's others where they, you know, they might put on an addition, they might add some new, so some of them have physical changes and some don't. So I don't know if you wanna specify or not.
Right.
I mean, if they're doing physical changes and, you know, then you want more of, you know,
But
with
then,
the site plan.
but then there's a,
But when you're going
degree.
from working on, you know, construction equipment to school buses or whatever, you know, there's not a, you know, that's not much of a change.
but I
so.
think then the physical change, once again, if it's a, you know, certain percentage of the lot or something, you might wanna, I mean, the Keller site, it was in an area that was, you know, kind of pretty much a driveway and equipment was coming in there already. I can't remember the percentage of the site, but just, you know, there might be considerations like that where someone may need to really provide a real site plan at some point.
Yeah, so do we wanna spend a little more time polishing this part up before we send it straight to a public hearing?
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah. A lot of it is trying to figure out the examples of what the
Right.
changes would be,
Right, kind of
You know.
the range of,
and, you know, how much of a change is gonna trigger. And
So yeah,
that's,
we have a definition of change of use is when it changes from one category to another in here. And sometimes, you know, sometimes they're pretty minor and we have to get, like, is that really a change? Like, I don't even know, good example, but sometimes they're major, but the difference between yeah, some of them are minor, but some of, I don't know. So we will continue to look at that.
We intended to go through this entire list tonight.
It's up to the chair.
But so the point of order, I worry these meetings go too long and we are down like 4 members. It's very hard to convince people to sit on the planning board when these meetings go for 3 hours. And so I know we have to do this, but it's, you know, I asked Ben to join. We got Jessica to join. It's a lot easier to convince people to join this board if we are not sitting here until 10:30 at night.
Mhm.
Right? And that is, we are very low across the town on volunteers. But on this, which is in my view by far the most important of the boards, we are scraping by. And so I'm wondering if there's a better way to accomplish what we're trying to accomplish tonight.
If I could get a small group of people to work
And
on
I'm
this
hap-
outside
I'm-
of meetings, that would
I'm happy
be
to,
incredibly helpful.
I'm happy to do that, and like, I suspect Sandy,
Yeah,
not to
yeah,
volunteer
I
you,
mean,
Sandy, but
yeah, no,
I
no, no.
suspect,
I mean, I've done
I'm
that
happy to do
before.
it on the side, if we can keep these meetings very tight and get this board back up to full.
I think if we can get a subcommittee or just a working group of a couple
Yeah.
of us to get these ready for a public hearing, we
And
have to
when do you
bring it
want
as
a
a
public hearing?
whenever we can. I mean, we need whatever, 10 days to notice it, but 2
I
weeks.
think we just need to work on making the changes and
Do you
like,
want-
it'd
do you-
work
Yeah.
better in a
If
small
anyone
I
else-
mean, ideally would be to do something ready in the fall to,
So-
right, public hearing.
More people are happy to join, but do you wanna set aside an hour, an initial hour for Sandy and I to come in during the day and meet with you?
Yes, please.
And then if we need to keep doing an hour each week until it's done, I'm happy to do that. I'm just not sure that this is the best forum to
right,
get it
there's a
done.
lot here.
I think that would be very helpful, and then there's some things that like I'd like to change so that we can start accepting the applications online instead of on paper. I would love if we could make that change like before fall.
Did you hear yesterday?
I think some of the change of use, I mean, or just in general, or?
Well, there's specific things about how you must submit an application in here, like we don't actually follow it entirely now, cause it says you need a bajillion copies, but I would like to at least get that to say, you can submit online. There's a few like housekeeping changes, so I think we should plan on maybe 2 rounds, like 2 public hearings, one maybe in July, August, and then another one and more of it in the fall.
Let's coordinate tomorrow, Sandy, and then we'll let everyone else know it's happening, so if you wanna join, please join, but we'll coordinate with you.
Yeah,
Set
so
the time.
we will post it as a meeting if we need to.
You figure that out.
Well, it depends.
We won't have a quorum.
It depends, well, if you invite everyone, you could, that's where it.
Yeah, if it's just 2 of us, if it's just 2 of us,
Just two of you.
then it's not,
That's just a work
you don't have to post it, yeah.
Yeah,
subcommittee meeting.
it's not, so we're not forming an official subcommittee, this is a working group of
Yeah,
a
ad hoc
non-quorum.
Alright,
I like it.
we'll sort that out tomorrow?
Yeah, I would like to see with the subdivision, that the purpose statement is one of the earliest things that we get in.
Meeting, minutes?
Minutes?
I think they look good to me, I viewed them on computer.
Wow, I'll make a motion to approve, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes of May 15th, 2025.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye. Don't look a gift horse in the mouth. I'll make a motion to adjourn.
A second.
All in favor?
Aye.